Hello everyone, hope you're doing well. Today in War Thunder we're going to be having a look at the Black Friday sale, which is happening from the 29th of November to the 2nd of December, so basically over the weekend. Another thing I do want to mention before we get into this, a lot of you have been contacting me about having issues with the easy anti-cheat system, and I understand, that a lot of people are struggling to get into the game or it's crashing your game, and all I can do is direct you to the forums right now because I haven't been able to work out what is actually causing it. We've had a few people where it seems that their antivirus is screwing with the easy anti-cheat, and once they uninstall it, then it works, but don't do that. Don't uninstall your antivirus for War Thunder. But the main thing is I still haven't worked out what the common denominator is between the people who are having issues, and I'm sure Gadget are working on it right now. Hopefully there is a fix pretty soon, if not already here. So let's get into the Black Friday sale. Normally there are a bunch of things on offer for Black Friday, but this time we get a little bit more. And what is surprising is a lot of these packs are pretty much the same packs that we saw in the anniversary sale. Do you remember when you could pick and choose which packs that you wanted to see on offer? Well, these seem to just be the packs which didn't go on offer or did go on offer plus a few extras. So overall, you get a very similar sale to what we saw on the anniversary sale, with a few little additions to it, on top of the Black Prince, the Black Widow, and of course the Black Cat, which are 3 vehicles which are always available normally for the Black Friday sales. So let's have a look at these and we'll go through them as normal. One thing to mention, I have created a spreadsheet here. If you want access to the spreadsheet, there will be a link in the description so you can, have a look at it. One of the main things that's actually changed over the last period of time in War Thunder is that the GE price for 1,000 Golden Eagles has actually increased, meaning that now in US it's 1,000 GE for $6.60. I've taken that into account in my constants, so these have changed. Therefore, some of these values have actually changed from last time because of the change. So you can see that some of these packs are actually better for you when it comes to costing, because obviously the price of G is increased, therefore the cost of the overall vehicle has decreased. We're going to go through each of these vehicles by themselves, and I'll give my opinions on it, look at the price and so on and so forth, and then we'll have a look at the 3 vehicles that are also available to purchase for GE in-game. So you have the M18 Black Cat, which is 50% off right now, and then you have, of course, the P-61 Black Widow, which is sat here. It's the A1 variant. And then, of course, you have the British wonderful Black Prince, which sits at 6.0 right here. So let's get into it. Let's get started with the classic, the Dora. So the Dora, of course, is $15 right now, and it also gives you 15 days of premium and 1,000 GE. This means that the overall cost of the Dora is only $2.78. If you take away the cost of GE and cost for premium time, $2.78 is how much this will set you back. So if you think a vehicle like the Dora, which is a very good vehicle at its current BR, I believe it's at 5.7 right now. It's even 5.3. So the Dora at 5.3 being worth $2.78 with its 3 MG151s, which are incredibly good right now. Also, its great rate of climb. The only issue it really has is against stuff like super props in the 6.3, 6.7 area, but guess what? It doesn't have to face 6.7s. The really strong BRs, or the BRs that get played the most for a lot of allied nations, is 5.0 to 4.7, that little bracket, because of stuff like the P-51, the P-47s, stuff such as the Griffin Spitz as well, the early ones, as you can see, 5.0, 5.7, and then of course 5.7 for these. And what the Dora can do is it can outclimb an energy fight. Yes, it does need a little bit of work to it because it isn't as maneuverable as it used to be, and also it locks up a lot more than it used to as well. But if you have a good supportive team, and at 5.7 that generally does happen because you have great components at 5.7 for Germany. You have the TARS, you have the Bf-109K, you have the Grief, you have the Do 335s, you have pretty much everything you need to support this vehicle, and since it has a low repair cost and it has high returns in 516% and 750% in SL, this is a no-brainer in my opinion when it comes to picking it up. It's a really good aircraft, and it only gets cheaper with time, so I suppose if you don't want to pick it up now, it's probably going to go on offer again. The Dora has been available so many times when it comes to War Thunder that it's kind of beggars belief that if you don't have it yet. But if you're a person who is interested in, you know, grinding out the German air tech tree and want a little bit of, you know, a little bit of or you have a little bit of interest in working out, you know, how this rank 4 powerhouse works for Germany, and, you know, want a little slice of it, you know, the D-13 is a pretty good pick. The problem is that if we look at it in other areas of the game, so in naval, it's pretty much useless. Because, well, we'll go into it in a bit. And in ground forces, it's a little bit better because it has access to these secondaries, so therefore it's able to do at least something on the ground and dogfight afterwards. Because the D-13, though, is a high-altitude energy fighter, if we talk about it in the air superiority role, there are a lot of things that beat it at 5.3. This is not something which can tussle too well at low altitude with stuff like the Soviets, stuff like the British aircraft, and against stuff such as, you know, the Americans, it tussles okay because normally the Americans are full of bombs and rockets, but once those go off, once you're low and slow in the D-13, which will happen after 1 or 2 passes, you're going to struggle. So that is a bit of a problem, that it is really only, you know, above average in air realistic, and in other game modes I'd actually say it's below average, but overall I still think, you know, it's a good pickup for $2.78 after taking away both of these. The next one is the P-47M, which comes in at $15. You get no G with it and 15 days worth of premium time. So that means that this vehicle is the most expensive out of the lot at $9.38. And what you'll find it in is, of course, the US tree. The P-47M is the best P-47 in the game. Incredibly powerful engine, really good high altitude performance, and you know how we talked about the D-13 and how well it does at high altitude? Well, the P-47M does as well, if not better than it. It also has options to very good secondary weapons, so therefore its use in ground realistic is incredibly good, and also naval forces, as that develops, the P-47M will have more of a use as well. But just in ground forces, it is one of those fighters which can play that multi-role, you know, idea. It is able to drop bombs and get at least 2 kills with the 2 1000s and the 500, meaning that, you know, it can be incredibly useful in that way. It also fits in a 5.7 lineup, which is pretty good for America. You know, you have the T-25, which for me is one of my favorite tanks in the American tech tree. You also have the M36, which keeps getting down-tiered, and even if you don't want to run it to that, you can easily up-tier it into stuff like the T-34 and the 6.7 lineup, where it is incredibly strong if you don't have stuff like the P-51H, or want an option which gives you a little bit better of a bomb load. It is the same as the D-13. Once it's low and slow, it's pretty much useless, so you have to try and keep up its speed after your 2 initial passes of hitting ground targets, but I would definitely say it is a good pickup. You're pretty much talking about a rank 4 aircraft at 5.7, which is $10. So that can pretty much, you know, easily research the majority of the American tech tree. The only thing it can't do is the rank 6 at a good efficiency. The only one at this level I would actually say is better than it, or the 2 that are better than it, is probably the P-59 and the F-7F. But even when you look at their rewards, 5.52, 690, and 498, 540, the P-47 eclipses them, 534, 780. And it's also 4,000 repair costs. This thing prints money, and it also prints research, which is very useful. But in air realistic, you are going to have to play it like I talked about the D-13. You're going to have to play it as a high altitude vehicle. You're going to have to be patient. You can't engage straight away with it because you aren't going to be, as high as some of the other aircraft that you were facing, whether it's Japanese, whether it's German, whether it's whatever. You're going to have a little bit of patience, just like you would a Corsair or something like that, and wait a few minutes before you get that altitude advantage and then go in. The problem with this is kind of the opposite problem that the German teams have. Because the German teams are generally at 5.753, where they have this powerhouse, they normally outclimb the American teams, at least at this level. What means is the initial engagement, they have the initial advantage. Now, if the American teams wait an extra 5 minutes, then the American teams will get the advantage, but unfortunately they don't do that. So what happens is they go in head first, and a lot of them will die to the Germans in the superior position. This means that your P-47, if you are not great at cleaning up targets which are lower than you, meaning that you're going to be left in a lot of 2-on-1, a lot of 3-on-1 situations that you're going to have to deal with, then you might struggle. But if you're a person who can deal with that and who is okay with that, then you'll do fine in this machine. It's personally a really good machine. I've seen it used to great effect. The Mustang, which is of course the P-51, sat, I believe it's this one here, the D-20. I'll just check that for you. Otherwise, I don't want to look like a Muppet, right? Yeah, it's the D-20. So this machine right here. It comes in at $15. You actually get 2,000 GE with it, which nearly covers the cost of the whole pack. Then you have the premium time cost, so that's 15 days once again. So this has the most GE and most premium time of any pack, and this means that the vehicle cost is actually negative. So what does this actually mean? So if you buy this pack, that the cost of the G and the cost for premium time covers the cost of the total pack and a little bit more. This means that if you buy this pack, it is worth it just for the GE and the premium time. Technically, the Mustang is a negative price in this pack. So if you want to, see it like that, which, I think people should see it like that, especially if you want some premium time and also some GE, especially since, you have the Black Cat and, the Black Widow and stuff in the game, which you can use that G towards or use that G towards other stuff. This is a really efficient pack for your wallet, especially if you like the Mustang. And even if you don't like the Mustang, it's more efficient to get a pack like this instead of just buying G or premium time like I know people do every once in a while instead of waiting for the sales. So this is a pack I definitely recommend just for that. The P-51 D-20NA at 4.7, yes, it falls into the trap that I talked about where it'll go up against a lot of 5.3s, 5.7s that we were talking about before, but the P-51 D-20NA is also really good in ground realistic, and in air realistic, it's another patience plane again. It has a really good dive on it. It has a nice first turn and maybe second turn, depending on how much energy you take out of that first turn, but after that, it struggles a little bit. So if you are good at lining up accurate shots in the first turn, then you should be completely fine. You have to select your targets pretty quickly. You have to make sure that you know where you're going. You have to really plan in this machine to do well in it. And as you can see, this is, well, not this one particularly, but you can see the P-51 D5 is one of my most used machines, and same with the P-51H. So with machines like this, you really have to set up kills, and because you will get outdone in the turn game, you will get outdone at low speeds, so you have to keep high speed, you have to keep high energy, and be able to, be able to set up targets. This does mean that if you're on an equal playing field with a lot of machines, such as the BF-109s, it can be kind of daunting to face them, but you just have to be patient, you just have to get higher than them, and then once you're higher than them, your engine starts to kick in, you start outperforming them, and then you can, deal with the effects, you can deal with what's going on. It's also kind of useful as an air superiority fighter in ground realistic, especially after you drop your bombs, and naval. The reason for this is because it's a little bit nicer at low altitudes than the P-47 to use, and also, it has a decent mid-speed capabilities when it comes to its turning. The only issue is losing so much energy in the to turn, so you've got to be careful of that. It also is one of those planes which is really nice if you're new to simulator to train on. It's very forgiving. It's very, very forgiving. If, let's say, you want to go into simulator, or let's say you want to have a bit of fun, maybe just try and learn it, I would definitely recommend the P-51. I trained how to play simulator on the P-51 and the Spitfire, and with those two vehicles, it really set me up well to be able to, play other vehicles at the same or, slightly different BRs. But the fact that you get this for technically a negative cost, it's obviously a no-brainer. Pick it up, have a bit of fun with it, and if you don't, you still get the G in premium for less than what you would normally pay for it, so therefore it's a win. It also has really good SL returns and also RP returns, and therefore you can research pretty much everything in the American tree with it. Since it's premium, it's a rank above, and everything, all ranks below it that you can get. So the next vehicle that's on offer is the Scout. Now, the Scout actually goes on offer every so often. It actually goes on offer on Humble Bundle as well. And the Humble Bundle price, I think, is very similar to this one. This used to be known as the Panzer II-H, but now it's the name that I can't pronounce. And it's really nice that they just call it the Scout Pack, so I don't have to bother. But the Pz.Sfl.Ic, I believe it's called. And what this tank is a 2.3 little monster, which now has access to scouting and also some artillery support. So if you've never used this thing, or if you've never seen this thing, imagine if you took a Panzer II and just decided to give it a crazy engine and a 50mm. Now that's pretty much what you find from this. And also, the armor being negligible as well. You only have 30mm on the front, so therefore you're going to get popped. Because of the 50mm though, the Pak 38, this really fills a role which is similar to the Puma, the SDKFC 2342. And the reason for that is because of its speed, because it's able to get around the battlefield, it can get up to it pretty well, and also the gun itself has really good penetration. So its main round has 95mm of pen, the APCR has 129, so a lot of people will purposely up tier themselves to be able to use this thing in higher tier battles. So for me, it's definitely one of those machines that you can do this with and, have a bit of fun with it. So it's not just something that's limited to 2.3. It is also can go higher, even up to something like 5.7 or 6.7. And since Germany doesn't really have any light tanks through its BRs, you can definitely run this as a cool little scout if you're okay with losing some RP, since once you get past rank 3, it's not going to be very efficient in the research pass. But it's a really fun little vehicle. I think everybody should own it, especially at the price that it's at. It's $7 right now, and the cost of GE nearly covers it already. You get 1,000 GE with it, you get 7 days worth of premium time, and that means that the cost of the vehicle is negative $2.22. So once again, just like the Mustang, you're getting this pack as a deal, which gives you, the tank for negative price. So these two packs, if you want, the best deals, these two are the best deals. And the Mustang is really good for research. The Scout is really good for, at its tier and up tiering, and also just fun. Like it's a really fun vehicle to throw around. The Cello sits itself at $10. The cost of GE, you get 1,000 with it, is $6.60, and of course the cost of premium is $2.62 because it's 7 days. This puts the Cello at 78 cents once you take away the GE and the premium time. So once again, an incredibly cheap vehicle when you take out the external factors. This means that this one, the GC Cello, and also you could even make an argument that it is worth zero, depending on the person that you're talking to, because this is one of those rare packs that actually comes with a decal, the badge of the tank units of the Italian army, and also a 3D decoration, the Breda Mod mod 38 machine gun. So you do get some nice little additions to it on top of what you already see. So the P40 GC Leon Cello is exactly the same as the one that you find in the tech tree. It's a 3.3, pretty good medium tank, and it also creates a staple Italian lineup that you can use, which generally people use for their, for these, basically the decals, the week's latest decals. I personally used it this time because it has the capture one for the Italians. Here we go. Capture zones 25 out of 25. And the Leon Cello is, it rounds out your 3.3 lineup really nicely. You also have some good backup in the form of fighters and also some bombers with the Italians. But at 3.3, it's one of the only BRs at lower tiers where you actually feel powerful as Italy, like you have a full lineup. One of the problems with Italy is it's a little bit scattered when it comes to lineups until you get to like that 6-7, 7-7 area where you start getting really powerful stuff, and 8-0 as well over here. And, you have a good 8-0 lineup, you have a good 7-7 lineup, and you also have these which can be up-tiered. But at lower tiers, you pretty much only have the 3-3 lineup, which is a stable one, which has access to everything that you would want. So it has access to 2 mediums, an AA, has access to some tank destroyers, and you can even up-tier these things if you really feel like it, to run the Semavente 9053, which is a really powerful tank destroyer for the first 5 minutes of a battle. So the GC Leon Cello, this machine here, also has 10 degrees worth of gun depression, has great turret rotation, has pretty decent mobility, not the best but good enough, and also has access to smoke grenades, which it fires out of its bottom. The only problem, so the big problem with the Leon Cello is its armor choices on the 75mm. The 2 armor choices you get are an APC-BC round and a heat round. Now, a lot of tanks that you're going to face, especially when we're talking about KVs, to be able to penetrate them in an efficient way, you're going to have to use the heats, the EPS M42. The heat, though, gets stuck in weird places. It's one of those heat rounds where what happens is when it penetrates a vehicle, it can get stuck on stuff like fuel tanks. It can get stuck on individual members. It's not one of those which goes through and then flies through and hits multiple things at once. Instead, it seems to get stuck to certain modules, so you got to watch out for that. The APC-BC is great as long as it penetrates, but at the level that it is, the heat is really required to make sure that you penetrate. But apart from that fact, apart from its killing power being a little bit not the best, overall the Leon Cello for me, since it's only, that price, the 78 cents, I would easily say this is worth it to pick up, just to round out a really good 3.3 lineup. Even if you've ground out Italy to the point of, being at high tiers, it doesn't matter because it provides the backbone, as I said, to a vehicle that you can use either for operations in the future, either for decal hunting in the future, or maybe other stuff such as World War mode if Italy ever get added to it. It's just a really nice vehicle on top of what we've already seen. The KV-Pz.Sfl.Ic. Now this is an interesting one. It's $12, so it's a little bit in the middle price, as you can see. And what you get is you get 1000 G with it. You get 7 days worth of premium, so it's the least amount on both. But this does mean that the vehicle overall is $2.78. So it's the same price as the Dora, if you want to look at it like that. The KV-Pz.Sfl.Ic is a weird one. It's a very, very weird one. In my opinion, and I don't think, oh no, I do have it. So it's a 5.0 rank 3, so it's useful at researching rank 4 and below. But the problem with the KV-Pz.Sfl.Ic is twofold, and it's the same thing that a lot of these Soviet heavies have. First of all, by the time you're at 5.0, the KV-2 turret and the KV-2 chassis are no longer surplus to requirement. Sorry, I don't mean that. They're no longer useful when it comes to in terms of armor. 75mm here, and then you have this big block here where everybody shoots. 75mm worth of armor is not good enough at 5.0, especially with a lot of Tigers running around at 5.3 right now, and Panthers at 5.7. Also, when it comes to the turrets, you can see that there are 4 people in it. Hello. And then you have you know, you have your 4 people in the turrets, which are surrounded by ammunition, which is of course 2-piece ammunition, but this bit is the bit that explodes. So if they pen your turret, you're going to go pop. And the fact is, it has. So even though it's a heavy tank, and it's still pretty fast for a heavy tank, so that's going for it. But the main problem is its armor doesn't stand up to anything because of here. Right, it's very sad that is the case. It just is how it is, though. I'd just like to thank Ambrosius McClellan, B. Young, Blackie, Daniel Stanton, Jay Wilt, John Ryman, Joseph Anders, Martinez, Moxie, Super Cacti, Uyins Terry, E-Love Goat, and Seductive Trash Can for supporting the channel.